Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. You know what it is. That straight kingdom talk, baby. You know how I'ma do it. Right. And I ain't going nowhere. 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 So sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Watch me hit him with this 1-2 knockout KO. This time it's all or nothing, and I ain't playing around. They tried to overlook me cause I wasn't in the in crowd. Well, I'm back at it, so you know it's going down. And I'm all up in their face, so they gotta see me now with that raw lunch.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Fivestar Fridays. I'm one of your amazing hosts, the mountainous Mr. Fish, everybody's favorite comic book artist, Uncle Fish, the fastest pencil in the West. We are bare bones tonight because all of the crew is gone to the big show in Ohio. Everybody's out showing comic books and making sales and cosplaying and all kinds of cool stuff. And we're sitting here. We're going to talk about Greenzone because that's my new book that's out at FSK right now. And we're killing it on Kickstarter. And my good friend, the amazing, the spectacular, the stupendous, the always effervescent Sarah from Unlikely Hero Studios is here with us. Good evening. Welcome to Fivestar Fridays. Glad to have you here.
Glad to be here. I'm appreciating the hell out of that intro right now. That was a good. That was a good intro. I never do that
Tony
well for
usually
myself.
gets to do it all, and and I don't want to stumble over him, with the so I let him usually take it, and it's fun to get to do it myself too sometimes. I am so glad you're here. Sarah has agreed to come on and ask lots of questions about Greenzone and help us let you guys know what's going on, let you know about the story. If you guys have any questions at all, feel free to jump in the comments and let us know. We appreciate everybody that's watching. We appreciate everybody that's going to be watching and listening later on all the various Agents of Geekdom networks and platforms and podcasts, renewal places, all the places that you can get it. It is amazing how many places we are at now. It is just something. All right, let's see.
Cool.
Let's jump in and check out the Kickstarter right quick. Like we hit the halfway point in like the first 12 hours. That was like super exciting for me. We are at, let me refresh just to make sure because sometimes my window doesn't want to show us. Okay. We are at 2,545 with 63 backers right now. I'm willing to bet we can get that up to 69 backers or higher tonight if we try, if people help us out. I know we got some folks watching. So if you've already backed it, please give us another share, let people see it. And if you haven't backed it, what's wrong with you? What's the matter? Come on, get out there. Drop a little coin. You can even get the digital level. I get digital on just about everything except like Spider Squirrel because I love digital comics. I read them all the time. And but Spider Squirrel is like up there with Super and The Surgeon. Like those are a handful of books that I want actual physical copies I need to have and be able to flip through and look at over and over again,
I love my physical copies, but eventually you run out of space to keep them all. And those nice comic book boxes, they're so expensive.
Oh man.
They keep the water out.
This table that is my desk now in my office is 8 feet long, and the whole other side of it is full of short boxes. And like I've got them marked, like I've got short boxes that are just full of like my friends' comics from Kickstarter and stuff. I've got short boxes of just indie comics. I've got what's up, Javon? Good to see you, man. Glad you could be here. I've got like 2 short boxes of books that need to be read that I haven't read yet, and I've got a pile loading up by my chair in the living room that need to be read. So yeah, it takes up a lot of space. I have
I've not got nearly the collection that you have, and already I'm like, I need to have a spot for just comics because I've been putting them with the rest of my my novels and stuff, and like it's just a stack. It's a mess now. I gotta do something about it.
Hmm. Oh yeah, I've got like 400 and something digital comics in my drive now, that which is nice. I've got it connected now so I can get to it from any of my devices wherever I am. So I can take my tablet on vacation and read any of those books I want to, which is when I get most of my reading done, is when I'm on vacation.
Sounds about right.
Let's see. Javon says he's got a huge stack of indie books in his office that he barely touched. I know how you feel, man. Absolutely. Let's see here. Dan Barlow,
Yeah.
what's up, man? Happy Friday, man. Good to have you here with us. Result of supporting too many Kickstarters. I feel you,
No
dude. I
such
feel
thing
you.
as supporting too many Kickstarters.
No,
I mean, only our wallets think so, really.
and that's one of the things I've been thinking about is like I've got so many comics now, especially the indie comics, from small press guys, that I'm starting to think about like bundling up some of them and giving them away when I go to shows. Like I've been thinking about like getting a wheel or something to get people in, be like, hey, who wants a chance to win free comics, and come in and like, everybody that buys a sticker or something can roll the wheel and get a prize, or everybody that comes up gets a prize. And maybe it's a piece of candy, maybe it's a sticker, maybe it's an issue of Greenzone, maybe it's a pack of a couple indie comics that you haven't heard of yet, and get some new eyes on it.
I think that would be super popular, especially the littler cons that I tend to go to. That would be very popular. You'd be the most popular table there if you did that.
And
We
I'm
just
all
there's
about
a
getting new eyes on stuff, helping
mhm.
anybody get new eyes on their project. I'm all about it.
Yeah, that would be yeah. That's I want I. There's never enough space on your tables, is there? I want to have I need like 4 tables at least at every con, but I just wish I could put all my friends' books go on my table too, and be
Oh
like,
yeah.
If you like our stuff, you're gonna like this stuff too. I guarantee you will."
I
And
would be
there's
so
not enough
dead
space.
at the end of that con because I would feel like I had to pitch everybody's book as hard as I pitch mine. And like, if you get some of my favorites on there, I'm going to pitch them hard. My voice would be gone by the end of Friday afternoon. I would have to take a tablet and be talking with a computer or something the whole rest of the time.
That makes me think though. We should all get together and talk sometime about like giving away digital codes for previews of each other's books, because how cool would that be if we got our fans to look at other people's books? I know there's a lot of crossover with our fan bases, but it would be super cool to get everybody reading everybody's books with
I had
something
an
like that.
idea that I think might have legs if you had the right group of creators working together. But I was thinking about um, doing like, it would probably be a fairly fat comic book. But if we all went in together, like if several creators went in together and we all did like, the first 6 or 8 pages of our first issue, enough to like try and hook a reader as a little sample, and we put all those samples together into one book, and it's like an indie comic showcase, and then like went the extra mile to get it printed in bulk at a cheap price. Like when you do offset web press printing on like newsprint, you can get the copies down to like 50 cents. You got to buy hundreds of them, but you can get it
Mm-hmm.
down low. And if we all went in and invested $100, let's say, in getting these things printed, we could have like giveaway priced comics that would showcase a whole bunch of our friends' work and ours. And you could be like, hey, who likes free comics? Come, you can get this one for free. And if you like what's here, I've got this book and this book and this book, and you can buy the stickers and the t-shirt and whatever else I'm selling.
Yeah, that might
But
not be a terrible idea. We'd have to it be well. What do we all keep saying about herding cats? That would be kind of tough, but it would be really cool if it worked out.
there have been to Dan's question here, is there an online indie convention? I know there have been, particularly during COVID, and some of them did pretty good. Yeah, I was thinking like an 8-page short story or your main book, or like the first few pages. Like I know I was giving out the first like 6 pages of Greenzone on my first campaign, like just to get you to sign up for my email list, and you could download it. And when you got to that 6th page, it had left a good little hook, and it was enough to make you be like, "Oh man, what's going on? I got to know more." and that was really it worked pretty well. People enjoyed it. Javon says he really wishes he was at GalaxyCon today. Man, you and me
Same.
both, brother. You and me both.
I mean,
I
it's
wish
in
I was there.
it's in Ohio, right? It's not even
Yeah.
that far from me. Like, well, I mean, it's kind of far from me, but I could drive it. It's not too far to drive.
Yeah.
I'm not
I've
saying.
driven it, and it's a long way from my house, but I did it a couple of times.
I'm gonna have to Google now and see exactly how far it is. It's probably farther than I think.
Oh, it was like 12 hours or something, I think, to get to Mike's place in Ohio. And I'm not exactly sure where GalaxyCon is from there, but
8 hours. It's a little farther than I thought, but not as bad as it could have been.
no, not nearly. Not nearly. Let's see. Andrew says, can't wait for Greenzone to fun. The first person to add the chance to be drawn in. I'm excited for that because I I'm excited this time that we just went ahead and made it an add-on that you can buy if you want to be drawn into the book. Um, and let's see here. I will show the campaign if it'll let me, and I will scroll down. And like I have specifically left in lots of little places where there are substantial areas that I can draw you in and have you be decent sized and stuff. And for I think it's $50, you can buy the opportunity to get in the book, and there's like 8 slots in the both books to get added in, and it's going to be cool. It's going to be fun. Andrew's character ended up becoming a really amazing character, and I've got all kinds of ideas for him now. Uh, After I had to stick him in there, and I was so excited when I did Andrew's because I added him in the lineup where all the characters are lined up in the first issue when they first get off the bus at the police station, and um, and I put him in there. And then when I got done looking at it, I was like, that's kind of small. And then I realized the guy I replaced him with showed up later in the offices, and I was like, well, this guy can't just show up out of nowhere. So I got to stick Andrew in again and leave it as a surprise for him to stumble across. And he's like, dude, am I in here twice? And I was like, yes, you saw it. Cool. One thing I do
Awesome.
want to do is show this video again because I'm really proud of the way this video came out. And
Yes, and I haven't seen it yet.
oh, and the voice actor, we'll talk about it on the other side of it, but man, he just nailed this. So let's watch this real quick. Oh my god, I love that ending so much. And that was honestly that was like on the beginning of his voiceover stuff as he was practicing the voice. And it was so funny. I had to put it in there. But like
Bit quiet
I
for me. I'm
just
gonna definitely have to watch it again. I'll have to
I
watch
just
it again,
found
maybe.
him on TikTok. Like I asked people who would be interested in trying to do a Virgil voice, and a whole bunch of friends and strangers and all kinds of people got on and tried out for it. And I would never have even imagined that voice. Like, that was not what I was picturing. I was picturing more of like grumbly alligator. But when I heard that, I was like, oh, forget about it. This is absolutely 100%. This is Virgil's voice. And he just nailed it. Just nailed it. Let's see. One of the comments here said, Nicole says, Mike's speaking tonight on 5 panels.
On 5 panels? Jesus.
That in one night? Oh,
Talk about
man.
having no voice after the weekend.
Yeah, that is a lot. Woo. And he's going to be doing the hype line and stuff from what I understand. And oh man, he does a good job on that, man. He's going the whole time. That was something I missed. Man, I missed the whole like carnival barker aspect of being at the cons and stuff, and interacting with everybody. That's where I have a lot of fun. Oh, we got a special guest joining us in from across the nation. Somebody who likes to come in and stir it up on the show from time to time, likes to come in with his hot takes and whatnot. It's your man, Javon Stokes. What is up, man?
I was just on a Stoke podcast yesterday. Malachi Bailey was like, "Oh man, he was saying how much I love to argue," and I was like, "I don't know how I like this reputation, but I'll tell you." He's like, "Nope, but you got to own it." So I own it.
I owned it years ago. Like, I enjoy arguing. Like, I have fun arguing, as long as we both know that we're just arguing about the point and trying to figure out, where we stand on it. It's when the other side doesn't know that I'm just trying to make sure where you stand, that sometimes people get mad and get their feelings hurt. Got somebody.
I don't really like arguing. I like debating. No, seriously. Like, I like debating. Like, arguing to me implies like we're.
I agree with you. Like, it does that. It has that flavor of this is an angry
personal
thing.
Like, oh, I'm angry at you, and I'm like, if we're at that point, then I'm like, all right, I'm out.
All right, hold on. We've got the man on the street here, Tony Clapper, coming in live from GalaxyCon. What is up, man?
Oh, I'm jealous.
How's it going here? Tony Clapper here live at GalaxyCon. We're experiencing a lot of con action here on the floor. It's very good here. Good traffic coming in and out. The weather's a little shaky, a little cold down here. We're going to be okay. How is the Fivestar Fridays? Man, the Fivestar Friday crew looks a little different right now.
Just a hair. Just a hair.
Who is that on the show?
We got your man Javon on here. We've got Sarah from Unlikely Hero Studios. We still mixing it up. We missing a little Tony Clapper action, but we got you, fat man. We got you, lady. We got you, brother of color here to bring the whole scene on. We're hitting most of the demographics, man. What can I tell you?
We have accurate replacements.
Hey, listen, we're gone for just a little while, and you already replaced us, fish. We see how it is. Look at Ryan. Look at Ryan's table.
Oh man, I've been seeing pictures of Ryan's table, man. It is looking nice.
Yeah, I saw the practice setup picture on Facebook, and makes me feel like I need to step up my game with my con tables.
Look at them green zones, man.
Ooh, nice.
I'm not jealous at all of you guys.
No, I'm not jealous.
No, I'm just kidding. What's up, guys? Good to see you.
What up, Fee?
Good to see you, Uncle Fish.
Good to see y'all, Fish.
It's good to see you too, man. I miss you.
All right, y'all. It's really hard to hear y'all. I don't know if y'all can hear us, but we're going to do our thing out here 3 days. Most of the Fivestar Friday crew is here. And we just want to say, if you have not backed Greenzone yet, what the hell are you waiting for?
What are you doing?
That's what I'm saying.
Do it now. If you have backed it, go share it again. Share it everywhere. I'm going to take fit. Share it to your mama's page. Share it to your grandma's page. Share it to your little cousin's page. Share it everywhere. Share. Sharing is caring. And we're going to do our thing out here, and we will catch y'all later, okay?
Y'all
Thanks,
enjoy
Tony.
it.
It's good seeing y'all. Y'all have fun. I know y'all are gonna kill it out there.
Thanks for filling in.
Oh man, yeah, I ain't jealous, Javon. I'm not jealous. I'm sitting here drawing comics all day, and you know, prepping for Grandma's visit this weekend. No, I don't want to be out there having fun at the con.
I
Nah.
was this close to being there. What happened was, and I can tell the full story now because it'll suck as I tell it. I reserved my hotel. I was actually in Ohio last weekend, so for a family reunion. But I would have stayed, but I had my son, and I didn't want him to stay with me the entire week just to sit
Hmm.
and basically be babysat by somebody else to do the con. But I was gonna like, all right, well, I'll fly back home and then I'll just fly back. And I had found a ticket for like $89 round trip. And I was like, okay, well, I don't have a table yet, and I don't have the money for a table. So I was one of those where I was like, God, if you want me to do this, just let me know.
Hmm.
And what I should have done is I should have bought the ticket with the ability to refund, right? Just in case if I couldn't do it. Because then I got a call from a friend of mine reached out and was like, "Oh, you want to go to this con?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I can't really get the table right now." And they were like, "I'll pay for half of the table."
That's a
So
good friend right there.
right, and so I was like, "Okay," but then I started looking at my resource, and then I don't have enough books. So at every
Oh.
turn, it was like, nope, 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 nope,
Hmm.
nope.
Oh,
So
that's one thing I took from you in one of our last conversations. From now on, I'm keeping tight records of what I sell so that like I know what I need to expect to have on hand and what I need, make sure I've got this much ahead of time before I go. Cause like I've gotten to big shows where people are spending money and ran out of books. And that stinks because you just watching money walk by and all these people like, oh yeah, how much? And I'm like, well, actually, I'm out, but I'm still going to pitch my book because I want you interested and I want you paying attention when the next Kickstarter comes around, like it is right now. If you go to fskgo.com, you can check it out. Um,
We've done a
and I'm
thing
still
where
pitching, but man,
I've done a thing where if I'm out of books, I will offer them to buy, and then I'll be like on the phone like, hey Lori, can you send a book to this address? And we've done that before.
yeah, I've done that.
see, you've got a lorry in your back pocket that you could pull on to do
Yeah,
that,
but
which,
I don't do that. But what I do is if somebody sees something that they like I have like a display book, right? Which is really just my copy of
mhm.
my books. And I'd leave it out there. And generally, like if I run out, I don't sell the display copy, but sometimes I do. But most people they'll read through it and they'll be like, well, this hasn't happened in a while. But they'll be like, yeah, can I how can I get this? I'm like, listen, if you buy it now, as soon as I get home, and I'll send it to you. That's work. But like you said, once I realized the average amount of books that I was selling per con, I was able to accurately bring enough books that I didn't run out, or did just enough.
Mhm.
Once I have it down to pretty it's pretty accurate. Like it's
I am
pretty
definitely
accurate.
taking that, man. That is a bit of advice that I appreciate and have filed away and I'm going to be using because, like I said, I've been there where I've carried tons of books with me that I didn't need to drag out there. And then I've been where I've, ran out of books and been at places where I did really good and just broke even with what I needed and made lots of money and everything in between. And I have no idea what had any impact on that, how many I sold, because I didn't keep good numbers of
Right.
that. And so I'm going to start doing that. Absolutely.
I have it
The,
broken down by like types of cons too, like 3-day
yeah, that's one
cons,
thing I was
2-day
thinking
cons,
because,
and 1-day events. So if I go to a 1-day event, I know how many books I need to bring. If I can go to a 3-day con, I know how many books I need to bring in 2-day con.
yeah, I think that's good info. Sarah, you said you've got
Not
some
that
questions for Greenzone. Let's talk about it. I'm here
I
to answer
do.
questions and fill
I
people in.
I have a list that I've been curating for a little while of just like fun questions, not hard questions. So, because
You'd be surprised.
everybody
I can
asks
make
you
any
like
question hard when I overthink it.
they like to ask you the questions about what was your inspiration, and you've answered them 100 times, and all people have to, if they've watched your show before, they already heard the answer. So, my first question, and we're talking specifically about Greenzone now because Greenzone just launched. So, who is your favorite character that you wrote in Greenzone?
Oh my God. Oh man. Oh, that is complicated because like they're all my babies. And even like there are characters that I just made up on the page. Like when I realized, oh, wait a minute, I don't have a training officer for this character. Okay, here's somebody that, just somebody that I stuck in for no reason before I got to the end of the first book had this interesting backstory and was this whole complex character and now is like one of the main moving points to the plot through the rest of the series. So even the throwaway characters I can't just like let go of and not build something for. But Danny Kim is one of my favorites. He is Virgil's training officer. The big lizard guy has this skinny little Korean kid as his training officer. And he's a he's a beautifully simple and complex character to me. Like he's really funny. He's had everything handed to him. Like he's a genome, but he's he just looks like a Korean kid. He doesn't look like a monster. He's not covered in fur or spikes or spots, or he's just a dude. He could walk out of the Greenzone and nobody bats an eye. And he has grown up privileged. His dad, looks human just like him. His dad is a career police officer and believes that he can break the genetic ceiling. And if he works hard enough and, works twice as hard as the humans, he'll get that promotion and be treated just like everybody else. And, he fully believes this. And so Danny's always knew he was going to be a cop, knows this job's handed to him, knows he can pretty much do anything and his dad's the boss and he's not going to get fired. So he really kind of doesn't take anything seriously. He's had a much easier life than most of the other characters in the book. So like he's one of those people that doesn't even realize how privileged his life has been compared to everybody else and will say like blatantly stupid things to Virgil sometimes. And he's like, oh man, we're both genomes. I get how it is. I got you blood. He does not know crap. He doesn't even know that he doesn't know crap. And, he's funny and he's kind of complex and he's deep and his character arc has all kinds of amazing places that it's headed. And I love him. He's a lot of fun. And he's just always got this, hey, how are you kind of grin. And, he's always hitting on the ladies and just, and he's not, he's not like handsome. I made him just a little bit goofy looking. He's got a weak chin and his ears kind of stick out. And he's like handsome adjacent. He's not a bad looking dude, but he usually wins you over with his sense of humor. And, he's that kind of guy. It's like, how does he score these women? But he's just got that little bit of swagger to him. I love him. He's so much fun.
Well, the second part of that question was why is that your favorite character? But I think you covered it.
Pretty much, yeah.
So second question then will be, who's your favorite character to draw?
Oh man. Waters is probably one of my favorite characters to draw. I love Virgil. He's complex and he's a challenge every time. And he's a challenge to fit into scenes because he's 8 feet tall. And some of the other characters are like 4'6". So like, just fitting them in scenes and having them, talk to each other is difficult. But Waters, I love because she's short. She's a little heavy. She's beautiful. She's angry. She's serious. Like she takes her job very seriously. But like, it's also important to me that she also be a beautiful curvy woman and not just, oh, she's just a fat chick in the back. No, she's a beautiful woman. And I love drawing her and I love the emotions and stuff. And like, she's got real serious stakes in this where Danny doesn't take anything seriously. She's almost at her 5 years, and we're going to find out later on in the series this isn't her first time. Like, this is her third go around trying to get to 5 years. And so this is like life and death to her. She wants out of the green zone. She wants to get a little house, keep her head down, live on the money she saved, and just have a better life. And she's not going to let anything get in her way. And she comes off really mean in the first book, but as it goes on, you see just how caring she is, just how loving. Like, even in the first book, when she comes off so mean and she really just wants to get to 5 years, she nearly gets killed in the first book for doing her job and doing it seriously, and not just half-assing it like other people do in the book. And she takes this stuff seriously. Oh, I love her. I love her. Great character, a lot of fun to draw.
I can see why you say it's hard to pick a favorite character.
Oh man,
You got a lot of backstory for both of the characters you've talked about so far.
and in a way, they're all me. It's like one aspect of my personality taken to an extreme. Virgil is what it's like being so much bigger than everybody else, and people being afraid of you for no reason when, like, you're honestly a really sweet guy, but you come off as very scary. uh you know Bellamy is this 5 foot tall girl covered in porcupine quills, but she is all of my sensory issues and all of my anxiety and my feeling uncomfortable in my own skin with my Tourette's, and and worrying about hurting the people around you, because if I step on your toe, something's getting broken. And like, I can't just accidentally bump into people and not leave a mark. So I'm overconscious about that, and all of that stuff gets put into her, and they're all me in one way or another.
Makes sense.
Great questions.
I love hearing your passion about your book. I just listen.
Oh man,
Yeah,
I love
same, same. So next question is, who are you sick of drawing? Who are you just over it? Anybody?
kind of a little bit Virgil, just a little bit, like, because he's
kind of the main
complex.
character,
Like, I
that makes
love the challenge of drawing him from all these different angles, because, like, with the geometry of his head and all the spikes coming off of his head, it's a real challenge to get that from every possible angle. And because I'm trying to keep him very close to the horned lizards that I based him off of, like, I'm trying to really limit how much, like, facial expression he has, because I don't want it to just be a total cartoon where he's all because, like, a lizard can't do that with his face. And so trying to get emotion out of eyes when I can only really move, like, the bottom and lower eyelid, and, like, he doesn't really have eyebrows that I can work with, and I have to turn his whole head to make his mouth smile or frown. Like, it's a challenge. I kind of wish I'd made him just a little bit easier to do, because
I
this
was
book
going to
would go
ask
a
if
lot
that's what
faster.
you would do. I was going to
But
ask if you could redesign them. Would you redesign them?
I would, but honestly, I probably would have made him more complicated. I can't help but do it to
You're missing the
myself.
point on how to deal with this, Fish.
I know.
You're in
That's
control.
like, I know what's the right answer to make my life easier, but I know what I would do. I would make him more complicated with more spikes and more scales and more inhuman looking. One of the variant covers that we got done by Drew Moss, and you can check it out on the Kickstarter, fskgo.com. He, like, straight up studied horny toads, and because, like, I told him where I got the look from. I used to love playing with horny toads when I was a kid in Oklahoma, and so I totally, like, based Virgil off of this. And so he studied these animals and came up with this, like, alien mutant looking thing that's got, like, the real anatomy of a horny toad, much closer than I got with my, like, cartooned version of it. And it's so inhuman looking, and I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite characters, and it looks nothing like my Virgil, and I love it. It's so cool to see just how different it is. And I probably would have done that and made my life 100 times harder.
It's funny. I guess, for my characters, I've been simplifying them a lot more, because I'm just I only have so much time. Like you,
Mhm.
me and you are on the same boat. We do the art, you do the
Everything.
coloring too, right?
On book 2 and half of book 3, I hired a colorist, but
Okay.
normally I do. I was trying to speed up the process, and Nick did an amazing job. But honestly, halfway through book 3, I realized, oh, my funds are getting tight, and I'm running out of time, and don't have enough time to make enough money to hire him to do this in time for the Kickstarter. So I had to take it over and finish it up myself and blend into his. But yeah, I normally do it all.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, I've been simplifying like everything. Like even with the first, my first with the graphic novel I did, The Black Flame, like I was trying to do grandiose, right? All
Hmm.
these, cityscapes and everything like that. And I've learned, I'm kind of learning to kind of simplify things, like even costume characters, like I kind of bring them down like more and more and more. Um, and I probably wouldn't do that if I had a colorist. I probably would be doing more. So I kind of understand where you're coming from. Like the more you take off the plate, the more you want to put back on your plate, like
And
artistically.
I am simplifying a lot of things too. Like I wanted to do flat colors in the beginning, but once I started and I was doing it myself and I was rushing, to get through as quickly because I had finished because I started hiring a flatter. I finished one book in 12 days and I'd planned for like a month and a half to do this book. I got it knocked out in 12 days and a couple of weeks. And I was like, oh, I've got like a month that I don't have any work booked and I'm paid. I need to knock out something of my own real quick. And my wife was like, yeah, you need to do one of your books. So I wrote, illustrated, and knocked out Greenzone like in that time. And because I was hurrying trying to get it done quickly in the time that I had, I fell into my old standard habits and added lots of highlights and shadows and like blown out lights from above because they're in an office with, fluorescent lights and stuff. And I added all these effects that I didn't really want to put in, but I just kind of got into, you know, autopilot and put them in anyway. And so one of the things I really wanted when Nick took over is like I want to go back to flat colors. I want to limit the palette, and I've let my art get sketchier and quicker and not be quite so tight with everything because I want it to have a more dramatic, sketchy feel to it because this is a gritty cop drama and not like super clean, high sci-fi in the future in this perfect utopian world. This is gritty. This is, in the ghettos. This is tough stuff. I wanted it to have a grittier feel. And so that's helping me a lot in speeding up a lot of things. But man, I used to spend so much time on backgrounds and I would spend all day on a cityscape and be so proud of it. And then I realized people are like, oh, that's cool. And then go on. Nobody is ever going to spend as much time studying that cityscape as I spent working on that cityscape. So I didn't like start phoning it in, but I definitely started simplifying things and realized every brick doesn't have to have a cross texture on it, and every corner doesn't have to have like Art Deco, little details in it. And the more I simplified it, the more I really enjoy my backgrounds now. And it's like, boom, these are buildings, and you can tell each one from the other, and you can recognize this building when you see it again. And they're simpler and quicker, and I love it.
It's fun. I don't mean I don't want to interrupt, Sarah. I'm sorry. But I love talking to artists about this stuff. I
No,
am
that's
with
the
you.
point of the questions, right? We want to talk
Right.
more about it, so that's
Yeah, like
perfect.
when it comes to like backgrounds, almost sometimes when I construct a page, like in my mind, I'm like, I just need two panels with backgrounds, with significant background, right?
Hmm.
Because I just need the audience to know where they are. But I like to do a lot of close-ups. So I'm like, you get one or two panels to show kind of where you are, and then the rest I'll like focus in and focus more on the acting of the characters. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Well,
I
that's the
totally get
nice
it.
thing about it. Like if you do one nice establishing shot and you show this
Mhm,
office
mhm.
and you show his desk chair and the plaques on the wall behind him and the bookcase and the plant and the window, then you only have to show like one of those things every so often in the background for people to know, oh, this is where we're looking. We're still in the same room
Yep,
because
yep.
that's the plant and that's the diploma on the wall. And you don't have to draw that room in 3-point perspective every single time. And I love that. Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of making me think about Miss Medusa's backgrounds. They're just, I don't know. As
Oh,
artists, I assume that you pay more attention to them than the average reader. But
oh yes, I do.
even still, it's like why do you spend so much of your life on these backgrounds? They're amazing, but nobody looks at them like you do.
And
Well, go
I
ahead,
do
Fish.
it sometimes too. Like I will make like super complicated stuff because I like throwing all the little details in there, especially when it's grungy and you've got like old fast food wrappers and cups and beer bottles and stuff laying all over the place. And then my OCD self is like, okay, now that we've rotated the camera 180 degrees, which side were the cigarettes on in the ashtray? And the bottle should be going this way now. And like, how many cups were there on the floor? And oh,
It's funny. One of my favorite artists is George Perez. For most people that know me, George is he was king. Now I'm so happy I got to meet him. So if you know George Perez, his work is insane. Like when it comes to backgrounds, and that there was a while when I was trying to be George, and I realized like I'm not George, but I talked to another artist, and they were like, "Look, it's about the story first and foremost, like elaborate, backgrounds and stuff. And there are some artists that just like thrive on that, and that's great. But like, can your reader tell what's going on? Like, give them the amount of information they need to further the story along. And then once I started to do that, I was like, pages started flowing a bit faster.
that changed my artwork, that changed my inking, that changed my coloring, that changed my backgrounds. Is everything is in service of pushing the story forward. And if it's not, then I'm not putting it in there and I'm not wasting time on it. And people wonder how I'm so fast. But like a lot of artists from my generation that came of age in the 90s are busy cross-hatching every square inch of the page, in great detail. I don't do that because that cross-hatching isn't pushing my story forward.
Right.
One line for either side of the leg of this guy's pants, and that's a leg. I don't have to spend an hour cross-hatching it for you to know that it's the pants of his suit, and I go on to the next page and do the next one and the next one, and it saves me a lot of time. But learning that, like, it's about making it clear, making sure anybody can look at it and know what's going on. And a lot of times with all my over rendering with the cross hatching, I was muddying things up, and it was hard to tell what was going on if you weren't a comics enthusiast and you knew this secret language of cross hatching to know what I was doing. It wasn't clear to everybody. And now you can look at my pages and be like, oh yeah, absolutely, this is a cop. He might look like a lizard, but that's clearly a cop in a cop uniform, and I don't have to, go nuts with it.
Right.
So, next question I got for you is there a color that you love that you wish you could shoehorn in that just isn't gonna work for Greenzone? Because you have a definite color scheme going on there.
Yeah.
Definite
It's
palette.
definitely got a color scheme going.
Like, you just
I
wish you could just
realize
get some like magenta in there somewhere.
I
or
don't
something.
get to use like a lot of red very often, and there are a couple of characters that are going to show up later on down the road that have more red in them and stuff, but most of the characters are either very earthy tones or kind of unnatural tones, like blues and greens and purples, and then with the uniforms being blue and everybody having to be marked with a green stripe, uh to mark that they're genomes, because you can't have them walking around and we don't know, because some of them you wouldn't be able to tell. We just can't have that. And so with all that stuff that I have to put in to make those things work right, I don't get to use as much red as I wish I did. That's actually an interesting question. I never mentioned that to anybody else.
I've never really thought of that.
Yeah, every time I think of something weird, like I'll be falling asleep at night and I'll be like, I wonder why we don't have this color in, like, it's always the surgeon, because the surgeon has our very much earthy tones and not a lot of non-natural stuff because of the nature of the story. And yeah, so I'm like, I wonder why we don't have anything that's pink in there. There's got to be something that's pink left, right? And so then I was like, oh, that's a good question. I should write that down. And sometimes I'll write it down as I'm falling asleep, and then the next day I'll be like, I don't understand what this question is at all.
And
what did I mean when I said when I put that there?
and when you have a book like The Surgeon, like, and you're talking like after the fall of man for a long time, like it comes down to like, would they be able to get indigo dye anymore? Because that's a really complex process to get.
Mhm.
Like that's really hard. And if somebody didn't really know the science behind that beforehand, and didn't die of dysentery along the way, like you may never have that color again. And that's one of the things, like when I'm drawing the folks like that live in the blocks, they're all wearing like used hand me down, Goodwill, dirty worn clothes and stuff. So there's not like a lot of super saturated colors. There's not a bunch of like crisp black t-shirts with bright colored prints, and no, there ain't none of that stuff. This is all, rough and worn and desaturated and grayed out, and yeah, absolutely. But there's a
Yeah.
reason for it, like there is in The Surgeon.
Yes, exactly. If you were just gonna throw, I mean, if you tried to figure a way to shoehorn red into some pages, it would probably look very weird to you and
Hmm.
possibly everybody reading it because it doesn't belong there.
Hmm.
So, excuse me, that one stuck up on me. I
It's
wasn't
Friday.
expecting
It's
that.
Friday. It's Friday.
It's Friday. It's
So,
nap time.
so next question is concerning like the whole story arc here,
Hmm.
and obviously I'm not asking you to spoil, but do you know how your story ends? Do you know how a Greenzone, or at least this, if depending on how many issues you plan to do, how many arcs you plan to do? Do you know how much? Do you know what happens at the end of this arc or at the end of the whole story? Have you gotten it fleshed out that far? Besides like main points, I guess.
Ideally, Greenzone doesn't end, not just because I want a job forever, but like
Sorry, Brad.
it's it's a world, so it's not really, it doesn't really have an end. It's not just following one character. Like if it was just following Virgil, I know how his story ends. I know whether he retires or dies or, whatever. I know that stuff about him, but it's not as much as people want to focus on Virgil because he gets a lot of attention for being a awesome looking character. It's not just his story, it's about the whole world. And I'm really hoping that everybody gets just as invested in Danny Kim's story and Bellamy's story and Brooks' story and his lazy training officer Boggs that would sleeps through his whole shift in the first book. And as long as he writes a couple of tickets, he knows he's good and ain't going to get fired. uh I hope you get as invested in all of them and the sergeant and his life and his romantic things that go on down. Like I hope you care about all these characters. And ideally like that wouldn't end, but I was thinking through a character that I have decided to take from one of my old stories and incorporate in this world. And when I started thinking through her and her power set and how that would work and the way the world is, I was like, she could end the whole world real easy. And that might be what happens. I mean, like if it gets to the point I'm like, okay, this is going to be over, at least I know I've got that one character that could take the whole world out if she needs to. So that's something to think about as you're
You
reading
forgot the
Greenzone.
part where Heat flies in and saves the day and just takes care of everything.
I was trying not to
my
give
bad.
away the
No
crossover
spoilers.
because
I'm
of
so sorry.
spoilers.
My bad. That's not that book.
I mean, you just never know, right?
That is a
Never
good
know
I,
what
I
the
question.
would
hell could
love to
happen.
do. I would love to do a crossover with Fish. It'd be the fastest crossover book I'd ever put out. It'd be the fastest book I ever put out because I would be like, Fish, you draw it. I'll color it, but you draw it. 'Cause
I tell you, I'm really interested in after I get the story arc a little bit further down the road and get all the characters and things that are going on in the background established. I seriously would like to open it up to some of our friends and be like, hey, you want to write a story for this? Because I've known a lot of our friends that have read the book that just start making up stories for it, making up characters and things. And, I think it would be fun to see what other people do with it. Like I've had so much fun seeing what people do with the characters, just drawing variant covers and stuff, and seeing the way they imagine the characters, and Mike seeing them as all sexy women, where I'm seeing like insecure Bellamy, uncomfortable in her own skin, and he's got her rocking these evening dresses and stuff. Like I love seeing what other people have done with it. So who knows? I've got several storylines I would like to hand off to other artists and be like, here, you can illustrate this one. I'll write it. And, because there's a lot of it. Like, I would like to follow a military team in this world. I'd like to follow a fire department in this world. And, I've even got one for like an AA type group of, survivors support group of all the superhuman stuff that goes on in this world, and follow that group around and all kinds of stuff.
Nice. That actually dovetails in really nicely with another question that I have here, and I think we have time for one more question here, maybe two. As you've been developing the story, have what has popped into your head in regards to like potential spin-off titles that you might want to make in the future?
Oh, that's a thing. Like, as soon as I thought through the world and in the very beginning, and thought through like, okay, if you have to serve the greater good to prove that you're not a threat for 5 years, what would that be? And like, how many different avenues are there that you could do that in? And the first ones that came to mind were, like the military and the fire department and the police force. And I wanted to follow these cops around and see what that's like. But the fire department would be really interesting to follow. And people look at firemen completely differently than they look at police officers, and they're both coming in on your worst day, but nobody's gonna like refuse to talk to a fireman that's coming in to like save your kid. Nobody's gonna be like, nah, we don't deal with your kind. You're gonna welcome them in. Yes, come into my house, put the fire out, save my baby, get the dog if you can. Like, it's a completely different thing. And I think the camaraderie and stuff would be very different. I think the camaraderie would be very different in the military, when your life is on the line all the time and the government looks at you as disposable weapons to throw at a bag at an enemy state. Like, I think you would have a very different camaraderie there. There are also a lot of other groups of people in this world. Like, this is like a version of other comic book worlds where like we have aliens and stuff that live on this planet. There is a global agency, Alpha, that we get to see some of in book 3, that deals with those superpowered people that go pro and become like heroes. You work for Alpha, they send you around the globe, to different missions, put you on different teams and stuff. I'd like to follow one of those teams around. But then there's all kinds of things in that, and like the fact that you can come from another planet and be a 100-foot tall insect monster and get on the evening news and evening talk shows and stuff and become a worldwide star because you're working from Alpha and come from another planet. But if you come from the Greenzone on the other side of town, nobody wants anything to do with you and your garbage. And the animosity that gets built up around there. There's all kinds of things happening in this world already. Like, there's nothing that happens to me in life, nothing that I watching a movie or a TV show that I don't get inspired to another storyline of like, if this happened in Greenzone and that happened to Bellamy, like just watching the evening news and hearing about things that the police have done and stuff like that would be completely different if that was Virgil in that spot, or if that was Little Waters, or Bellamy covered in razor sharp quills. And then that spurs me on to a whole nother idea and a whole nother thing. And God, I've got stories to go for 100 years.
What you're saying is you do.
Yeah.
So yeah, the idea of spin-offs is actually a really fun concept for me, and I kind of want to ask everybody with the title what they would do for a spin-off, because it'd be easy to do like a one-off story about a lesser character, a supporting character, but to do a whole series about it would be a completely different ball of wax.
Oh, I want to do a short series or maybe just a graphic novel. I've got a story that is funny and exciting and interesting that just follows a mom and a stepdad that go on this wild adventure and like they get kidnapped by criminals on the road, and like them and their kids have to go on this wild adventure through the underground of Greenzone and all these criminal hangouts and stuff. And like you find out that the stepdad, the big goofy stepdad with the pot belly, isn't as innocent as he looks, and like he's got a past, and all of his stories about all these people, like it turns out Fluffy from all his high school stories is a real dude. He's just an 8 foot tall biker, and all kinds of stuff. Oh, it's going to be funny, it's going to be good, but like it's not right for my style. Like I see it in much more of like a Steven Universe type style, like funny and just light and enjoyable and goofy and good time, but I'm not the artist for that. I want to write it, but I'm not the artist.
I kind of want to see that now that you've
Oh yes,
now that
absolutely.
you've described it. I kind of want to see the whole thing. And now that you said Steven Universe style, I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely want to see that. You need to make that happen.
I know it's tough when you have like all these ideas as a creator you want to kind of put out, and you want to get them out there. I've said this before, like, that's where Strong came from. Strong was an idea that I had, and I was like, okay, I want to do this, and I'm kind of tired of doing Heat, so let me do this. And then it actually kind of gave me a chance to take a break, and now I'm like stronger than ever on Heat. That was not on purpose. But like but I want to do more Strong, so now I have to find people to do it, like Fish said about finding an artist. Like I'm personally looking for a Black female artist to do Strong, to do
that would
and
be
it's
great.
so hard to find them. It's so difficult to find them, I should say. But like that's my spinoff. Strong is my spinoff. It's been, it has a connection to Heat, but I tried not to make it so overt. Well, not so, it's overt, but I didn't want to like, you have to read this to know what this is. So I understand how you
or
feel.
B, she's only a character that you want to see because of this book. Like she needs to stand on her own and be her own thing. And yeah.
But
absolutely.
I have another idea that I might do myself. I'll just do it I'll do it in and around Heat, but I wanted to do like a horror book. And it'll be done in a different style. Like if you see my book, it's very cartoony, but I can tone the cartoony down and go a little more realistic. And so I'm gonna do that at some point. The hope is to have it out next year.
Oh yeah, I've got horror stories planned and all kinds of stuff coming down the line. There's all kinds of different characters in this world, and there are serial killers, and there are human traffickers, and there's all kinds of stuff, and those things all take on much different connotations when anybody in the world could have superpowers, and oh, it's good. Oh, I want to tell all kinds of stuff because there are some characters that give me nightmares, and like there's one character that's going to be showing up later on in the book that like when I created this dude years ago, I had so many nightmares about this guy. Like I could not close my eyes in the shower. I couldn't turn my back on the door of the shower because I was scared when I turned around he was going to be there, because this dude scared me so bad, and he's a serial killer, and he is going to show up in Greenzone down the road, and it is going to be good. Like, oh, I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun.
It sounds very unsettling.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
I don't want to ask you any more questions. I'm done.
I don't blame you. I honestly don't. I would pull the Kickstarter back up,
but also like I'm sitting here going, okay, that freaked me right the hell out. But
you kind of want to know, don't you?
Yeah. Like I want to see what happens.
Oh man!
I was telling Fish before we went live, like I still haven't actually gotten my copy of Greenzone 1 because of a screw up. I got it was just a mix up with Lori and me, and my copy ended up going to her, and I think it's on its way now because she had a bunch of stuff she's sending me now, and I was like, it's fine, just throw it in the next big box because she's always sending me more books or more of something to send to sell at cons, and so so I was like, just next one, just throw it in the top of that one, and I'll get it. And I kind of think that it's been like 2 or 3 months now though since they got sent out, and I'm like, yeah, okay, so they're launching Greenzone, okay, and I still haven't read one yet. I mean, obviously I'm gonna back this one, but
I wish
it
I'd known. I'd have
reminds me
sent
that
you
I
one of my
didn't.
copies, or heck, shot you the digital copy if nothing else, so you could at least read it till you're waiting on yours to get there. But yeah, I'm so excited. I'm really anxious. I'm so excited that so many people came so quickly and so early to back it, because I was a little bit worried with it being in December. Some people have done great numbers in December, but my kid's birthday is on Christmas Day, and all I can think of is the last 19 years of never being able to get anybody to come to a birthday party in December at all because they ain't got money. And I'm like, oh, that's going to be tough. And hitting the halfway point in the first 12 hours really reassured me, helped ease some of my anxiety. So thank you to everybody that backed it. Thank you to everybody that shared it. And thank you to everybody who's going to share it again, because we need the help getting the word out there. Um, every single share means the world to me. Seriously does. I'm so grateful for that because it gets it in front of more eyes. We have gotten one more backer on this show, and we are at $2,555 right now, 64 backers, 15 days to go. So this isn't a long one. So you can't wait till after Christmas to back it, because it's going to be long done since then. So get out there and back it and share, like Tony said. Any other closing words you guys got before we run a commercial and head for the hills?
Go get heat.
I'm excited. I'm excited, and I can't wait to see Greenzone fund, and back all of Fish's stuff, back all of our stuff. We don't have anything running right now, so we took November and December off because of Sundering, so we're gonna get the Sundering out because that thing is a monster.
Oh yeah.
And then we'll be back with more. But yeah, I can't wait till your Kickstarter funds, and I gotta put my back in there yet. I didn't put I didn't put anything in there yet, but I'm gonna. The thing that's gonna happen. I see things and I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta do that, and then I'm like, see it again. Oh yeah, I gotta do that, and then a couple of times it's been like, oh shit, I missed it because I just kept going.
My
oh, yeah,
ADD brain's so bad about that. Oh man, like, oh yeah, I need to do that, and then I remember 3 months later, oh yeah, no, that's long gone. No, I can't do that anymore.
That's
I'm
what
gonna show
sucks about
something before I leave.
Kickstarters.
Woo!
This is the cover for Heat #2.
Oh man.
Oh, nice.
This is the pencils, blue line and pencils and inks, actually. Very
Good
smart
deal.
Good.
I actually did 2 variant covers on one on each one of these books, and I did them traditionally just so I would have physical art that I could put on the Kickstarter as a one-off add-on, that if somebody wants to get it, they can get it, and have the actual physical art sent to them, just to see how it does.
I need a variant from Fish.
If you knew how many times I tried zooming in on that page. Oh my God. Oh yeah, that was rough. But I mean, I enjoyed it and it was fun. But we'll see. If they sell, I'll do more. If they sell, I might start inking the whole thing by hand because I kind of miss it. But anyway. All right. Thank you, everybody.
It's so much faster.
Thank you, everybody that tuned in. Thank you for everybody that's backed and shared Greenzone. Thank you to Tony and Ryan and Fee for jumping in from the show and the con floor and letting us know what's going on there. Thank you, Sarah. And thank you, Javon, for jumping on at the last minute and helping out.
Anytime.
Thank you for your great questions. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your support. And we're going to run a commercial before we get out of here. Be sure to tune in the morning. I think it's 10 a.m. for the Four Tales podcast. I don't miss it a single week. I get up every morning and watch it because nobody else in the house is up yet while I'm watching it. So
I'm always up. So
Perfect
tune in
time.
tomorrow and watch that, and we'll see you guys next Friday. Thanks.
I want to know what it is Quick is trying to say.